Alright, so let me tell you about this legend named Jeffrey Lionel Magee, aka Maniac Magee. This dude's life story? It starts off messy, gets wilder, and never lets up. From the jump, you know he's not your average kid. This guy's practically born to be a myth, like the kind of hero you'd see in an anime opening sequence, running full speed with dramatic wind effects. So, boom, Jeffrey's story kicks off with tragedy. His parents? Gone in a freak trolley accident, like, what even? He ends up living with his Aunt Dot and Uncle Dan, who should have been called the Toxic Twins because they hate each other's guts but refuse to divorce. Their house is so silent it's practically a graveyard. One day, during a school choir performance, Jeffrey snaps. The boy literally screams, enough, and just runs. Like, full-on Forrest Gump mode. And this isn't just a quick jog to blow off steam, he keeps running. And running. And running. For a year. Fast forward to the small town of 2 Mills, where Jeffrey rolls up like a total wild card. This town? It's got serious issues. The East End is where black folks live, and the West End is for white folks. Everyone stays in their lane, and crossing over? Yeah, that's a no-go. But Maniac Magee doesn't care about any of that. He's just out here vibing, barefoot and fearless. By chapter 5, the boy's already making waves. People can't stop talking about this strange, scrappy kid who's sprinting through town like he's got infinite stamina. He's like if Naruto ran into a small-town drama and decided to shake things up. Maniac Magee is just getting started, and you can tell, this dude's about to change everything. Alright, let's talk about chapters 6 through 10 of Maniac Magee, where Jeffrey, aka Maniac, turns up the chaos and starts cementing his GOAT status. By this point, our guy is basically 2 Mills' newest urban legend. He's running around barefoot, defying expectations, and dropping jaws like he's the main character in some shonen anime. Everyone's either shook, confused, or ready to fight him. So, chapter 6 kicks off with Maniac stumbling onto a pickup game of baseball at the Little League field. Now, you'd think a random kid showing up wouldn't be a big deal, but Maniac doesn't just play. Dude steps up to bat against John McNabb, the town's resident big shot. McNabb's this hulking pitcher who strikes everyone out with his legendary fastball. Except when it's Maniac's turn, he straight up disrespects McNabb's entire existence by bunting the fastest pitch of the day. Not just once, he bunts it like 5 times in a row. Then, just to flex even harder, he cranks one out of the park. The crowd's like, who is this kid? By chapter 7, McNabb's steaming mad. He gathers his gang, the Cobras, and they chase Maniac out of West End territory. Maniac, unfazed, crosses into East End like he's got plot armor. Spoiler, he does. That's where he meets Mars Bar Thompson, the self-proclaimed king of the East End streets. Mars Bar's the kind of dude who's all bark and bite until he tries to punk Maniac by offering him a candy bar. Instead of getting scared, Maniac just takes a bite. The audacity. Mars Bar's mind is blown. Then, in chapter 10, Maniac meets Amanda Beale, a girl carrying a suitcase full of books. Turns out, Amanda's a walking library, and the two instantly click over their shared love of stories. She lends him a book, and bam, just like that, Maniac starts carving a spot for himself in the East End. Alright, so chapters 11 through 15 of Maniac Magee? Absolute fire. Our boy Maniac is leveling up, making connections, and, of course, stirring the pot wherever he goes. If 2 Mills wasn't already buzzing about him, they sure are now. Maniac's chilling in the East End with Amanda Beale's fam, and honestly, it's the closest thing he's ever had to a home. Amanda's little siblings, especially Hester and Lester, are wild, but Maniac fits right in. He's reading Amanda's books, keeping the kids from coloring on them, and even helping out around the house. The Beales? They're vibing with him hard, treating him like he's always been one of them. For the first time, Maniac feels like he belongs. But let's be real, peace in 2 Mills doesn't last long. There's still all that East End versus West End tension, and people start side-eyeing Maniac. Like, what's this random white kid doing living with a black family in the East End? Some folks are big mad about it. But does Maniac care? Nah. He's just out here being his unbothered, chaos-loving self. One day, though, things get spicy. Amanda's prized book, The Children's Crusade, gets wrecked when someone vandalizes the Beales' house. Maniac is shook, not just because it's Amanda's favorite, but because he's finally realizing that not everyone's cool with him breaking boundaries. He starts to feel like he's putting the Beales in danger just by being there. So, like a true protagonist with a tragic hero arc, Maniac does the classic it's not you, it's me move and dips out. He's wandering the streets again, back to being a lone wolf. It's low-key heartbreaking, but you know Maniac, he's not staying down for long. This boy is a walking, running, life-hacking legend, and you can tell he's about to shake things up even more. Alright, let's get into chapters 16 through 21 of Maniac Magee, where our boy Jeffrey continues to prove he's not just a legend in the making, he's the legend. This stretch is a mix of chaos, feels, and Maniac doing what he does best, breaking barriers and blowing people's minds. So, Maniac's back on the streets after his dramatic I'm too dangerous to stay exit from the Beale house. But don't think for a second this dude's about to lay low. He's wandering around 2 Mills, being his usual barefoot, unbothered self. At one point, he stumbles into the backyard of a grumpy old dude named Grayson, a park handyman who might as well have NPC energy tattooed on his forehead. Grayson pulls a get off my lawn move but ends up taking Maniac in because, let's face it, nobody can resist this kid's weird charm. Grayson and Maniac? Total opposites, but their friendship hits harder than a surprise boss battle. Maniac starts schooling Grayson on how to read because, yeah, Grayson can't, and in return, Grayson tells Maniac all these wild stories about his time as a minor league baseball player. Grayson even hooks Maniac up with some fresh gear, a pair of used sneakers, which, in Maniac terms, might as well be Yeezys. The two of them make this little home in a baseball equipment room, and for a hot minute, it feels like Maniac's finally got a squad again. But you already know 2 Mills isn't about to let Maniac have his chill arc for too long. Even while bonding with Grayson, Maniac is still out there doing Maniac things, running everywhere, ignoring the East End/West End beef, and making people question why life has so many dumb, invisible rules. He's like a real-life glitch in the 2 Mills matrix, and the town's still trying to figure out what to do with him. By the end of this part, Maniac's teaching Grayson about books, while Grayson teaches him about life. It's sweet, it's wholesome, and it's a much-needed breather before things get messy again. Maniac may be taking a break from breaking records, but don't get it twisted, this story's just warming up. Alright, buckle up, because chapters 22 to 27 of Maniac Magee are like an emotional roller coaster with no safety bar. Maniac's life continues to hit peaks and valleys, and honestly, someone get this kid a therapist or a power-up, because dang. So, Maniac's living his best life with Grayson in their little makeshift home. It's all hot dogs, baseball stories, and major bro vibes. Grayson, the gruff old handyman, is basically this grumpy sidekick who's actually got a heart of gold. And thanks to Maniac's persistence, the guy finally learns to read. Like, imagine the anime montage where the student finally levels up, and the teacher is secretly all proud? That's them. It's pure, wholesome content. But then the holidays roll around, and things start to hit different. Maniac and Grayson have this low-key, DIY Christmas in the equipment room. They set up a tree, exchange little gifts, it's adorable. You can't help but think, okay, maybe this is it. Maybe Maniac's finally found his forever squad. But, oh no. Jerry Spinelli is not about to let us have nice things. Not long after Christmas, Grayson passes away. Yeah, just like that. It's gut-wrenching, like someone just snatched the happy ending we thought Maniac was building. Our boy is crushed. This guy who was more of a dad to him than anyone else? Gone. Maniac doesn't even stick around for the funeral, he just packs up and leaves. Classic Maniac move, when the feels get too heavy, he hits the road. Now he's back to wandering the streets, no plan, no home, just vibes and sadness. He starts camping out in random spots, including the zoo, where he's basically living like Tarzan but without the jungle squad. You can feel the weight on him now, like, yeah, he's still running, but the spark that made him a 2 Mills legend? It's starting to dim. Maniac's story isn't over, though. He's not done rewriting the rules and flipping the script on this divided town. But for now, the boy's just trying to keep moving, one barefoot step at a time. Alright, let's talk chapters 28 to 32 of Maniac Magee, where things get real. Our boy Maniac? Still out here, surviving like he's stuck in a never-ending sandbox game. But now, he's about to meet 2 characters who crank the chaos meter up to 11. So, Maniac's camping out at Valley Forge, because apparently, the cold and hunger just aren't punishing enough. Enter Russell and Piper McNabb, 2 little walking tornadoes of energy and bad decisions. These kids are straight up wild, think Gremlins, but without the water. They're running away from home, again, and Maniac, being the unintentional hero he is, decides to step in. He's like, yo, if you're gonna run, at least have a destination, and somehow ends up dragging them back home instead. Now, the McNabb house? It's next level gross. Trash everywhere, no rules, and chaos for days. Maniac's met some messy places, but this one takes the cake, and probably dropped it on the floor. Then there's the dad, George McNabb, who's basically the king of laziness and bad vibes. The whole house screams dysfunction, but Maniac sticks around because, well, these kids need someone to look out for them. Russell and Piper are all about dares, so Maniac becomes their go-to guy for proving his legend status. They're like, bet you won't go into the East End, and Maniac's like, watch me. Of course, crossing into East End as a white kid in 2 Mills is a big deal, but Maniac's too unbothered for all that. Dude's walking around like he's in creative mode, not caring about the stares or side eyes. Through all this, Maniac's still trying to figure out where he belongs. He's stuck between 2 worlds, East and West, and neither one feels like home. But knowing Maniac? He's not done rewriting the rules just yet. Alright, chapters 33 to 37 of Maniac Magee? Buckle up, because things get deep, messy, and just a little unhinged, kind of like your favorite season finale where everything hits the fan at once. So, Maniac's still hanging with the McNabb brothers, Russell and Piper, who've somehow made being reckless a full-time gig. They're all about dares and chaos, and honestly, they're like 2 NPCs you'd find in a glitchy game. Maniac? He's trying to keep these kids alive, but it's not exactly easy when their dad, George McNabb, is basically radiating bad news energy. The guy's paranoid, racist, and holed up in their trash heap of a house building a bunker for a war against the East End. Yeah, it's as toxic as it sounds. Meanwhile, Maniac's walking a tightrope. He's still trying to bridge the gap between 2 Mills East and West Ends, and honestly, it's giving main character in a redemption arc vibes. He tries bringing Mars Bar Thompson, the East End tough guy, over to the McNabb house for a visit, thinking, hey, maybe this will break some walls down. Spoiler alert, it does not go well. The McNabbs are all side eyes and hostility, and Mars Bar leaves, not even trying to hide his disgust. Honestly, same, Mars. Maniac starts to see just how deep the division in 2 Mills runs, and it's heavy. He's realizing that fixing this broken town isn't going to be as easy as outrunning a baseball pitch or munching on a Mars bar. Our dude's carrying the weight of the world, and it's starting to show. But even when the vibes are off, Maniac doesn't quit. He's out here playing peacemaker, running literal and metaphorical marathons, and still searching for that sweet spot where he truly belongs. Stay tuned, because you know he's not done yet. Alright, chapters 38 to 42 of Maniac Magee? It's crunch time, and Maniac's out here tying up loose ends like a pro speedrunner tackling the final boss. The feels? Intense. The drama? Off the charts. The stakes? Let's just say the future of 2 Mills is basically riding on this kid's shoeless shoulders. So, Maniac's been running, literally and emotionally, but now he's back in East End territory, hanging with Mars Bar Thompson. Remember how Mars was all tough guy supreme? Well, surprise! Our boy has leveled up to the role of unexpected ally. At this point, Maniac's fully embraced his chaotic, peacemaker energy. He even crashes at Mars Bar's place for a bit, and guess what? Mars's mom is not about that nonsense at first. But she warms up, probably realizing that this barefoot legend is trying to make the impossible happen, unite 2 Mills. Meanwhile, Russell and Piper McNabb, the human versions of Taz from Looney Tunes, are still causing drama. These kids somehow get stuck on the PNW trolley trestle, basically a super high bridge, and everyone's freaking out. Enter Maniac, who's like, fine, I'll save the day. Again. But just as he's gearing up to be the hero, Mars Bar swoops in and does it instead. Yeah, Mars freaking Bar, the guy who used to make kids cry for fun. Talk about a redemption arc. Mars Bar saving the McNabb kid? That's the crossover episode nobody saw coming, and it's exactly the kind of thing that starts breaking down barriers in 2 Mills. Maniac's been planting seeds of change, and now people are finally starting to get it. In the end, Maniac steps back, letting the town figure things out without him as the glue. The kid's tired, but he knows he's left 2 Mills better than he found it. True hero vibes, no cape needed. Alright, picture this, Maniac Magee is still living his legendary vagabond life, but things are about to get real in these chapters. Our dude Maniac is chilling with the McNabbs, a family so offbeat they make the Addams family look normal. These folks are holed up like it's the apocalypse, building a fortress in their house to keep out the rebels, read, anyone who isn't white. Yeah, it's that level of messed up. Maniac's trying to vibe with these people, but the whole scene is giving major red flag city. Maniac's no dummy, he knows the McNabbs' worldview is darker than a berserk anime plotline, so he tries to steer the kids, Russell and Piper, away from their dad's trash ideologies. But convincing them? Like trying to solo a Dark Souls boss without rolling. Maniac throws down some fun challenges for the boys to distract them, like crossing a train trestle, but it's not all fun and games. When Piper dares Russell to go across, things hit peak drama. It's scary, heart-pounding stuff, but of course, Maniac pulls a superhero move and saves the day. Think All Might yelling, I am here, but quieter. Then Mars Bar Thompson, once Maniac's arch-nemesis and now Loki bro, steps into the chaos. Mars gets roped into the McNabb madness, and he's instantly like, yo, what is this clownery? But respect to Mars, he doesn't back down from the tension. When Mars sticks around for dinner, he's flexing his calm confidence even when the McNabbs throw major shade. Meanwhile, Maniac's still caught in the middle, trying to bridge 2 worlds like he's playing Minecraft but on hardcore mode. These chapters slap because they're not just action-packed, they're about Maniac trying to rewrite the script of a broken town. But can he? Or is this story too glitched to fix? Stay tuned.